In She Dances, a father and his teenage daughter confront their fractured relationship against the unlikely backdrop of the young Miss Southeast Regional Dance Finals when he agrees to be his guardian on her trip. She Dances is directed by Rick Gomez, and this film is his directorial debut, and it's worth noting that this film is co-written by the director and also the star of the film, Steve Zahn, and the teenage daughter in this film is played by Steve Zahn's real-life daughter, Audrey Zahn, in her feature acting debut. She Dances debuted at the 2025 Tribeca Film Festival and will be released in US cinemas starting March 27, 2026. She Dances is a pretty engaging, funny, heartfelt father-daughter comedy drama that works for the most part. I had some issues with the film, but for the most part, it really does work. I think the main strength I think that this film has is once Steve Zahn and his teenage daughter, played by Audrey Zahn, his real-life daughter, they go on this kind of like road trip to this dancing competition with her friend, played by Mackenzie Ziegler. Their relationship feels real. Of course, they're real-life father and daughter in real life, but him and his daughter and her friend really bounce off each other quite well, and you just really feel like they're like a real-life trio. In this film, Steve Zahn, he owns a restaurant, a very trendy restaurant that he's just about to sell. He's meeting with a lot of potential buyers at the moment to sell his very trendy restaurant for a nice figure, and he owns this restaurant with his friend played by Hawke, and both of them, they lost a son maybe a few years ago, and it's kind of a raw topic, and it's kind of mentioned a few times, and sometimes every now and again someone will come up to Steve Zahn and say, I'm sorry about your loss, but we don't really get details of what really happened until later on in the film. So when we meet Steve Zahn in his film, he's living separately from his, I guess, ex-wife. I'm not sure if he's divorced or not, ex-wife, and his daughter. I think he had a bad few years off the wagon when he lost his son. So it's really has a fractured relationship with his ex-wife and his daughter. So when his daughter doesn't have anybody to take her to this dance competition, she reluctantly asks her mother reluctantly asks Steve Zahn to take her, and he's kind of a little bit hesitant at first, but he agrees to move some stuff around and go with his daughter to this dance competition. As I said before, once they're on this road trip, he wants to bring up the memories of the past, and he still treats her like his little girl. And as I said before, their relationship, or the various places they go along the way, really feels quite real and funny. And towards the end of the film, once Steve Zahn and her daughter have that nice moment together, and also Hawke comes to the competition as well, because he's a little bit concerned about his friend Steve Zahn. They really have a nice emotional moment towards the end of the film. But I think another really standout thing about this film is the debut performance by Audrey Zahn. She comes like a pro. She has a background in dance, and she see a lot of sense of her dancing as well. So both her dancing and her acting is very, very impressive in this film. So I definitely think she has a acting future. But a couple of things that really bothered me about this film is that it has this split screen gimmick that, I don't know, it doesn't really add anything to the film. When I first did it in the first opening scenes, Steve Zahn is coming home from work, and the scene splits, and then there's also on the second side is his daughter talking to his mum and thinking, are they living in the same house? Is Steve Zahn gonna meet up with them? And then you find out he's just by himself in his own apartment, and it's just always a little bit confusing. And then they do these split screens sporadically and later on in the film, and we didn't really add anything to the film. And I think this we're not really sure what happened with Steve Zahn in the past when he lost his son, and it's the information that leaks throughout the film. I think we did get so little information about what happens that once the emotional stuff happens in the final act of the film, it just doesn't hit as hard. For me anyway, it didn't hit as hard as I wanted to, because we just get the information that we need. It's just so late, and the tonal shift in the second half of the film, in the first half of the film, was very light and funny, and then suddenly it gets serious very, very quickly, and it just it doesn't really gel those tonal shifts as much as I would have liked, but I give She Dances 3 stars out of 5. I do recommend checking out this nice little comedy, father-daughter comedy drama. It has really, really performances from debut Audrey Zahn and her father Steve Zahn, and also Ethan Hawke as well. And it really does come to a nice emotional conclusion, even though I felt the tonal shifts and the emotional shifts in the second half of the film were a little bit unwarranted. But I still think this is a winning, very entertaining, funny father-daughter comedy. Thanks for watching. What did you think of She Dances? Please comment below what you thought of the film. See you next time. Bye.